Hey everybody, it's Element Productions back with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of the best deals in desktops you can find. This is the Dell Optiplex 7050, and it is one of Dell's more modern, recent desktops that you can easily snag for under 150 bucks. So let's see what you get for that price. There are three different models of this computer. There's the 30 series, which is for budget-oriented business users, the 50 series, which is for budget-conscious but also capability-seeking users, and then the 70 series, which basically gives you everything, regardless of whether or not you've optioned it out in one of the cheaper models. So for this instance, we went ahead and got everything, and you can easily still get these 70 series models for around the same price as a 30 series, so why not just get the 70 series? So on the front for I/O, you can see we have our power button, a hard drive status indicator, headphone and microphone combo jack, 4 USB ports, one of which is a charging port, a USB 2.0 port, a USB 3.1 port, and a USB-C port. Great for powering those modern devices. We also have a blank for an optical drive that I'm assuming nobody needed. Flipping around to the back, we have a line out jack, HDMI, 2 display ports, a serial port, keyboard and mouse PS2 ports, 4 USB 3.1 ports, an Ethernet jack, 2 more USB ports I'm assuming are for powering on devices when the machine is on, 2 blank expansion slots, as well as a paltry 180 watt power supply. Opening this machine is quite a breeze. All you do is you take this little blue lever, snap it into place, and then give a nice tug on the back and you are in the machine. Let's take a look at what's inside. So let's jump in. The first thing that you notice is the SSD in the hard drive bay. We have underneath it the spot where the optical drive would go. And if we look a little bit further underneath, you can see that we have 4 DDR4 RAM slots with a maximum supported 64 gigabytes of RAM available. If we look even further, and it's extremely hard to see, and I don't think I'll be able to get it, but way back there is a spot for an M.2 SSD. Now what's extremely interesting about this is despite being older than the newer 60 and 70 series, these in particular have a Pci E 3.0 slot, while the newer 60 and 70 series only have 2.0, which means that you'll get a lot faster transfer speeds from an M.2 SSD, for example. Something also important of note is that while the 5050 and 7050 have 4 RAM slots, the 3050 only has 2, meaning that one only supports 32 gigs of RAM while these higher up models support 64. Something important to note for future longevity, although it doesn't matter very much currently. Another important thing is that while the 50 and 7050 models come with 2 display ports, 3050 only has 1, which means if you want to support 2 monitors natively without a video card, which by the way, it's kind of hard to fit one in there. I've been told that you can only really fit a 1030 at the best, and oh look, what's written in the dust on the power supply? I think it says subscribe. Oh, that's a nice sentiment. Might as well, right? I mean, it's right there. Underneath this very nicely designed fan is the 6th generation Core i5 processor with the Q270. It's upgradable to a 7th generation processor, meaning that you'll get a lot of use out of this if you decide to upgrade your CPU in the future. And the last thing really of note is that the 3050 has a serial port optional. So if you're looking at one of these units, you see a 3050 for an unconstitutionally low price, make sure it has a serial port, which would be standard on the 50 and 70 series, but in this case, it is an option. Just like the VGA port, which looks glaringly obvious next to these PS2 mouse and keyboard slots, but it was an option and this one did not come with it. It still is nice you can run 2 displays out of the box though. I'll let this one slide. Alrighty, so this is my only option of display for HDMI. I'm usually using a VGA monitor or at least a DisplayPort monitor, neither of which I happen to have on me. So we are stuck with this television on this computer. I'm really happy that it's actually working. I just lifted this SSD out of my old computer, which is actually down here, but amid the whole computer chip shortage, I managed to basically part out my main computer, and hopefully in the future when prices come back down I'll be able to rebuild it. But in the meantime, I'm finding machines like this that do the exact same job that my old computer did. So surprisingly, I mean, you wouldn't be surprised to find out that this is only a 32-inch monitor on top of this abnormally small form factor computer. But that's a nice benefit in the end. So let's go ahead and go to our About and see what specs we're running on this. Although I already know, this is still the first time that I've used this computer ever. So we have an i5 6500 on this, great. 8 gigs of RAM, great. And the rest is self-explanatory. It's very snappy. You can see, let's go to CPU ID, check a little more information on this machine. Alrighty, so as expected, we have 6500 and a ZQ270, as well as 8 gigs of DDR4 RAM. Graphics, we need to install that driver. And yeah, let's see, I would be very surprised if this had Wi-Fi, and sure enough it doesn't. What's great about keeping an old phone, for instance, say you have like an old Pixel or something, what you can do with that is you can connect it to your Wi-Fi and then tether it to the computer and use the hotspot even when the phone is not connected to a mobile network, and still use the Wi-Fi that you're connected to as a hotspot for one of these, instead of buying one of those shady, $12 adapters on Amazon or eBay. You can actually just use your phone, which is a nice reason to have one. And of course it'll always stay charged when it's plugged into the computer. So just a little tip for life right there. So I guess that's pretty much it for this video. You can see that for 150 bucks you definitely get a heck of a deal. There's not a lot to complain about. You know that these Dells are a lot better than some of the strange ones that they're coming out with, like their gaming ones with the very proprietary and cheaply made components, but these are of the higher end in terms of how recent they are and how usable they are. So with that, I guess I'm going to end the video. I am really happy that y'all tuned in. Glad you've watched up to this point. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. If you didn't, you also know what to do. Just keep up the good work, whatever you're doing out there, and keep in touch. We'll be out with another video soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.